The Grand Convocation Hall of Seraphis Prime was a marvel of architecture, a gravity-neutral amphitheater suspended in crystal strands, each seat engineered for a species that may or may not breathe oxygen or even possess bones. Transparent walls framed a slow-dying sun beyond, its flickering solar flares casting a soft amber glow on the council. Dr. Elena Myles stepped into the arena. Her boots clicked softly against the obsidian floor. Around her, delegates rustled, some chittered through mandibles, others blinked lidless eyes. One slithered, another hovered. She was the only one standing on two legs without armor or tech augmentation. The human envoy wore a simple navy coat and an expression that said she had seen worse than stares. Worse than silence. Worse than the smug smirk on Archspeaker Vrovkal's face. As per Concord protocol, boomed the moderator AI in all attending species' native frequencies, Earth is hereby requested to disclose the classification of its apex life form for the bioregistry. Elena folded her hands behind her back. Human, she said, loud and clear. The silence broke like glass. Laughter erupted from Sector 9, Zalith predators, their 6 jaws convulsing in synchronized hysteria. The floating Araxians emitted sonic pulses that approximated giggling. Even the usually stoic Lidhari blinked in confusion. Vrovkal leaned forward from his obsidian dais, voice slick with contempt. Surely you misunderstood the question. We did not ask for your species. We asked for your apex predator. I heard correctly, Elena replied. A murmur pulsed through the assembly like a seismic wave. A few species turned to their translators, wondering if the human's language was prone to metaphorical malfunction. Vrovkal rose, a towering figure sheathed in armor made of living resin. You claim yourself as the top predator of Earth? Do you not possess creatures with claws, venom, armor? What of your beasts, your lions, your serpents, your ancient tyrannosaurs? She smiled without humor. Yes. All dead. Or locked behind glass. The room stilled. Elena stepped forward. Let me explain. With a blink, she activated her ocular link. A three-dimensional hologram sprang into existence, Earth's savannah, 50,000 years ago. A small human figure, thin, barefoot, chased an antelope. This is persistence hunting. No claws. No fangs. Just endurance. For hours, sometimes days, we'd run a creature until its heart failed. Another blink. The scene shifted to a group of humans building traps. Spears. Fire. Walls. We didn't wait for evolution to give us tools. We made them. We didn't grow stronger. We outthought. We coordinated. We remembered. A pause. She let the silence stretch just long enough. Every other apex predator on Earth is specialized: speed, strength, poison. We were generalists. We used memory, planning, language. And when we couldn't match nature, we bent it. We didn't dominate one terrain, we conquered all of them. A soft chime echoed, the moderator AI indicating her presentation time was at risk of extension. Elena dismissed the projection and turned back to the assembly. Your apex species, each one of you, evolved within the bounds of your ecosystems. You fit into them. We rewrote ours. Vrovkal's voice cracked the air. So you celebrate your arrogance? Is this an admission of guilt, that your species slaughtered its way to dominance? We had to survive, Elena said flatly. On a planet that tried to kill us every day. Floods. Quakes. Ice ages. Predators. Disease. You call it violence. We call it adaptation. A new image shimmered above, cave paintings. Then fire. Then agriculture. Then war. We didn't stop at surviving. We built cities. Satellites. We reached the stars. And left a trail of corpses, Vrovkal sneered. Every predator kills. But none exterminate for ideas. Elena met his gaze without flinching. We're not proud of every page in our history. But tell me, Speaker, how many of your kind died in your ascension? He hesitated. The hall dimmed by half a shade. We are not unique in bloodshed, she continued. But we are unique in this: no matter how often we fall, we get up. Stronger. Smarter. Meaner, if we must be. The Lidhari delegate, a crystalline entity with 1,000 shifting facets, rose slowly. Its voice, filtered through quantum modulation, spoke. I witnessed a human soldier during the Corinth conflict. He lost both legs in an explosion. And still dragged his body 3 kilometers to save a Zavari child, his enemy's offspring. Elena turned toward the delegate, stunned. I didn't know that story. You wouldn't. He died before his message reached Earth. Another silence. This one thicker. Vrothkal folded his arms. You argue with anecdotes. I argue with data. Your kind has committed more acts of planetary self-destruction than any other Concord species. True, Elena said. But name one other species here that chose to survive their own extinction. A flicker in the crowd. That phrase struck differently. She pressed her advantage. We've ended plagues that should have wiped us out. Defeated tyrants who enslaved half the globe. We made peace with enemies, taught machines to think, and walked on our moon before we could even cure cancer. She stepped closer to the center. We are dangerous. I won't lie. But it's because we remember every tooth that ever tore us apart, and we swore never to die that way again. The chamber fell utterly silent. Then, the moderator AI spoke. Request for formal hearing has been initiated by Archspeaker Vrothkal. Subject, reclassification of Homo sapiens under existential threat level review. Elena didn't react. She simply adjusted her collar, turned to the crowd, and said, if you want to fear something, fear the species that made its own predators extinct. And walked out of the hall. The tribunal chamber was smaller than the grand hall, but colder, by design. It was built to unsettle. Sharp geometry. No windows. Just floating consoles and a polished black floor that reflected every movement like an accusation. A single spotlight hovered over the center, casting long shadows from every figure gathered. Dr. Elena Myles stood inside the circle. Above her, arranged in a tiered arc, were 12 delegates, insectoid, aquatic, avian, crystalline. And among them, looming, was Vrothkal, eyes fixed, fingers drumming his seat. Dr. Myles, began the moderator AI, voice stripped of emotion, you have been called to respond to the Concord's concern regarding humanity's threat potential. Please proceed with your defense. Elena didn't flinch. Let's start with the obvious. Yes, we are dangerous. But what you fear isn't violence. It's willpower. The room didn't move. It listened. We are the only species here that doesn't just react to threats, we prepare for them. We train for disasters that haven't happened. We simulate wars we hope never come. We map the stars not just to travel, but to survive what's out there. She walked slowly in the spotlight, letting her words pace with her steps. You think danger lies in our wars. But danger lives in our memory. We pass trauma from generation to generation. We write it into books, songs, films. We make sure we never forget how the world tried to kill us. The Arisian delegate rippled. And yet, your species has nearly ended itself multiple times. Elena nodded. Yes. Nuclear standoffs. Ecological collapse. Pandemics. We have walked to the edge more than once. And every time, we clawed back from it. You see a flaw. I see proof. Vrothkal's voice cut through. Proof of instability. You survive not through wisdom, but luck. You play with extinction like it's a game. Elena turned toward him. You mistake survival instinct for recklessness. Our species was never gifted a calm world. Earth has murdered entire civilizations with fire and ice. Our ancestors didn't have time for peace, they had to evolve or die. She tapped her console. A hologram flickered on, a Neanderthal skull, followed by early Homo sapiens, then modern humans. We didn't inherit Earth. We fought every inch of it. A Lidhari delegate pulsed blue, signaling inquiry. You claim struggle shaped you. But why maintain such capabilities now, in a galaxy governed by diplomacy? Because we remember what it's like to be prey, Elena said simply. And because not all diplomacy lasts. Silence. Vrothkal leaned forward. Let's not pretend. Your species has built weapons capable of sterilizing continents. Machines that think faster than their makers. Your own history records genocides, enslavement, ecological collapse. And you expect the Concord to ignore that? No, she said. I expect the Concord to contextualize it. She activated another hologram, a battlefield, dusty and scorched. Soldiers, human medics, carrying wounded Zavari fighters. That's the Battle of Krenek Ridge. Our soldiers had no treaty with the Zavari. But when the bombs fell, we didn't ask for loyalty, we offered bandages. Rations. Shelter. Not because they were allies. But because they were alive. A crystalline hum filled the chamber. The Lidhari delegate stood. We confirm that incident. One human medic shielded an injured child from orbital fire. No orders. Just instinct. Vrothkal hissed. Anecdotes are not absolution. No, Elena said. But they're windows into who we are. She paused, letting the silence breathe. You fear will turn on you. But humans don't start wars in fear, we end them in exhaustion. And when the smoke clears, we don't just bury the dead. We build hospitals over the graves. A younger delegate, serpentine and golden-eyed, tilted its head. Then why keep building weapons? She met its gaze. Because the galaxy isn't finished throwing monsters at us. And we'd rather be ready than regret. Murmurs broke out among the council. Some nodded. Others coiled, withdrawn. Vrothkal raised his arm. Enough sentimentalism. You speak of endurance as nobility. But endurance alone does not justify your place here. Tell me, Doctor, if humanity is so noble, why do your species still train to kill? Elena's answer came quiet, but razor-sharp. Because kindness means nothing if it dies in the dark. That silenced even him. She let that hang a moment, then continued. We train to fight not because we want war, but because we've lived in the jaws of it. Earth didn't forgive weakness. It buried it. Her eyes swept the chamber. I'm not asking you to trust us blindly. I'm asking you to understand that we became what we are because we had no choice. And if survival built monsters, it also built medics, teachers, poets, explorers. She stepped back into the center. Our strength isn't in our weapons. It's in what we do after the war ends. The delegates conferred briefly in encoded bursts and neural flickers. The moderator AI blinked to life. Preliminary ruling, the Homo sapiens species will not be classified under the existential threat category. However, the Council will impose an ongoing observation protocol. Humanity's integration into Concord affairs will proceed under elevated review. A sigh rippled through the chamber. Relief from some. Suspicion from others. Vrothkal narrowed his eyes. Observation is not immunity. One misstep, and your species will learn what true predators look like. Elena gave him a thin smile. We already have. We just call them history. She turned and walked out, her reflection trailing behind her like a shadow she had already tamed. The hall was nearly empty now. The crowd had dispersed. Some left disturbed, some impressed. A few departed without a word, their expressions unreadable. Dr. Elena Myles remained seated on a bench in the observation ring, overlooking the artificial daybreak blooming across Seraphis Prime's outer shell. Light shimmered like waves on metal. Footsteps approached, quiet, but deliberate. Expecting applause? Vrothkal asked as he stopped beside her. She didn't look up. Not from you. You should have taken your victory and left. Instead, you linger like a warrior waiting for the second strike. Elena finally turned. This wasn't a battle. It was a mirror. His mandibles twitched. You compare a tribunal to reflection? You weren't evaluating us, she said. You were evaluating yourselves. Through us. A long pause. Your kind unsettles the natural order. There's no natural order, she replied. Only what survives long enough to name it. Vrothkal regarded her with cold eyes. You speak in riddles and paradoxes. Your species contradicts itself at every turn. Maybe that's why we're still here. He leaned in slightly. And what happens when that contradiction breaks? What happens when your compassion fails, and all that remains is calculation? She didn't flinch. Then I hope you remember we warned you. Hours later, she stood before the Central Concord Assembly for the final address. No debates. No more challenges. Just her closing words before Earth's status as a Concord member was ratified, or suspended. Delegates watched with careful, weary attention. Elena didn't use a projector this time. No holograms. No charts. Just her. You've asked if humans are dangerous, she began. You're right to ask. We are. So is every species that survived its infancy. Her voice was calm, but unwavering. But you've misunderstood why we're dangerous. It's not because we build weapons. It's not because we win wars. It's because we learn. Every wound we take becomes a lesson. Every mistake becomes memory. She let that settle. Every predator you know follows instinct. We evolved to override ours. A murmur flickered. We walk into fire to save strangers. We forgive those who tried to kill us. We give food to those who once took ours. And when the time comes, we stand between others and the monsters they can't face. She took one slow breath. You fear we'll rise too fast. That will outgrow restraint. But growth doesn't erase values, it tests them. And ours have been tested through ice ages, famines, extinction threats, and our own worst impulses. The room was still. Watching. Listening. So yes, she said, we are the apex predator of Earth. But what defines us isn't how we hunt. It's how we protect. A delegate stirred. Protect whom? Elena glanced toward the voice. Anyone who needs it. Another silence, this one thoughtful. She stepped back. We're not asking to be trusted blindly. We're asking to be seen honestly. Because if you only see our claws, you'll miss the hands we extend. The moderator AI's voice followed a beat later. Motion to ratify Earth's full Concord membership, passed. Observation protocol to remain in place for 3 cycles. Case closed. A collective hum filled the chamber. No cheers. Just a quiet acknowledgement of something undeniable. Back in her ship, Elena sat beside the viewport, watching Seraphis Prime grow smaller in the distance. Her assistant, a young linguist named Kieran, walked in, holding 2 mugs. Coffee? She took one. You have no idea how much I needed this. He sat across from her. They called you insane on half the channels. Brave on the other half. She sipped. Insane is usually step 1. Do you think they'll ever stop watching us? No, she said. And that's a good thing. Watching keeps them honest. Keeps us honest. Kieran nodded. You scared them. I didn't mean to. A beat. Well, maybe a little. He laughed. What do you think made the difference? He asked. Why'd they vote yes? Elena looked out at the stars. Because we didn't lie, she said. We didn't pretend to be what we're not. And maybe, just maybe, they realized that surviving doesn't make us monsters. It makes us witnesses. To what? To what happens when you refuse to stay on your knees. Hours later, a quiet message pulsed through a private Concord channel. It was not broadcast. Not recorded. It was only seen by 6 eyes. A Lidhari diplomat stood over a crystalline console. Their message was short. Earth has teeth. But they bite only when cornered. Recommend alliance, before someone tries to cage the wrong animal. On a remote world in the galaxy's outer reaches, a cloaked figure tapped a claw on steel, watching a recording of Elena's speech. She's right, it whispered. They're not apex predators by strength. It's their choice not to be, that terrifies me. A second voice emerged from the shadows. Then what do we do? The figure paused. We wait. And we pray they never stop choosing mercy. In orbit above Earth, a child stood beside a tall window in a learning station. She watched satellites glide across a pale blue curve and pointed. Papa, is it true what they said? That humans are the most dangerous creature on our planet? Her father smiled softly. Yes. Are we bad? No, sweetheart, he said, kneeling beside her. We're just prepared. She thought for a moment. Prepared for what? For the day something out there forgets how lucky they are, that we chose peace first.